So for math today, we're going to be working on these things called comparison statements, okay, and we're going to be turning them into equations. So our learning target is I can represent a multiplication comparison statement with an equation. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what in the world did she just say? I don't get it. I'm confused, right? Me too. So I broke it down for us. What is a comparison statement? So it's a sentence or statement where we compare one thing to another. You can do that with people, you can compare food to one another, and when you do it, it's a comparison statement. But for math, we're going to focus on comparing numbers. So for instance, 35 is 5 times bigger than 7. That's my comparison statement. Now, for my learning target, I have to turn it into an equation. Okay, so how do I turn it into an equation? What is an equation? An equation is what we've been doing pretty much all of math. 5 plus 7 is 12, right? That's an equation. 5 times 2 equals 10. That's an equation, okay? 10 divided by 2 equals 5. That's an equation, okay? And I could keep going. But those are all examples of equations. So I'm going to turn this into something like that, okay? So now at the end of this video, you have to be able to do these things in order to be considered successful. Do I expect you to be doing them right now? No, that's not reasonable. So listen to these, and this is what I want you to be able to do at the end of this video, right? I want you to be able to put comparison statements into equations. So, and then down here I have an example. So I want you to be able to take something like 35 is 5 times bigger than 7 and turn it into this equation right here, okay? And then the last part is students zoomed their teacher with their exit ticket. You guys should know that by now, but in order to be considered successful, you have to Zoom us. Okay. And then here we go. Let's get started. So this first one I'm going to do by myself. And then the next two, I want you to pause the video and see if you can figure them out when we get to them. Okay, so I have my comparison statement right here. And now I need to turn it into an equation in order to meet my learning target. So I know whatever it is, it equals 12. 12 is the biggest number. So I'm going to put 12 equals, okay? And it doesn't matter what side it was on. If you wanted to put it over here, you can. Just don't do both because you'll look like a crazy person, okay? So 12, and then I have a 3, and I have a 4, and I have the word times in the middle. So 3 times 4. Yep, it's literally that easy. You could have also written it 3 times 4 equals 12. Both would be okay. So now I'm going to move on to this one down here, and I want you guys to pause the video and see if you can figure out how to represent this comparison statement. If you're not there yet, do it with me, okay? So 600 is the biggest number, right? So it's going to equal 600. So I'm going to go ahead and write 600, and you should do the same if you haven't already. Okay, then I have 100 and I have a 6, and I have the word times in the middle. Go ahead, pause the video if you haven't already, and see if you can figure out what to do next. Hopefully, you wrote 100 times 6 or 6 times 100. Both are correct. Okay, now this next one, I do definitely want you to pause here and see if you can figure this one out on your own. Okay, hopefully you figured it out already, but here's my comparison statement. I know the 7 is what it's going to equal. So I'm going to 7 equals, and then I have another 7 and a 1, and the word times in the middle, so I'm going to say 7 times 1. Okay? Now we're going to move on. Okay, so these might get a little bit harder. So go ahead and try to figure out what the equation would be for 70 is 5 times bigger than 15. 75, sorry. Hopefully you figured out 75 is what it's going to equal, right? And then I have a 5 and a 15 in the middle with the time. I have a 5 and 15 with times in the middle, right? So I'm just going to write 5 times 15. Okay? And I'm done. Okay, go ahead, pause, and see if you can figure out what the equation for 72 is 9 times bigger than 8. Okay, hopefully you wrote 72. And then you saw that you have a 9 and you have an 8 and you have a times in the middle, so you're going to do 9 times 8. Okay, let's look at this last one on this page. 64 is 8 times bigger than 8. Go ahead, pause the video, and see if you can write an equation to represent that comparison statement. Hopefully you wrote 64 equals, and then you had an 8 and you had an 8 and you had times in the middle, so 8 times 8. Okay, I am ready to move on to the next part. So this is actually your exit ticket. Yes, this lesson was that quick, okay? So for your exit ticket, you have these 3 problems. What I want you to do is I want you to solve them, or write the equation, right? And then Zoom your teacher. Okay? So you have 36 is 3 times bigger than 12, you have 18 is 9 times bigger than 2, and 50 is 5 times bigger than 10. Please write your equation and Zoom your teacher.